This is the Google Pixel 7a, a phone which looks to offer a similar experience to its more expensive Pixel siblings. It does come a lot cheaper than the regular Pixel 7, but there are some compromises too. Still, could this be the better deal? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Google Pixel 7a review. The Pixel A series phones have always aimed to provide many of the same features as the more expensive models, at a lower price. And with the Pixel 7a, Google has included even more of those nice features, such as a high refresh rate on the display, a high-res main cam, and wireless charging. The design of the 7a is quite a familiar one, with its flat back with rounded edges, and the signature bar-shaped camera bump extending across the backside. The bar is made of metal, as is the frame, but the back panel itself is made of plastic. And overall, the phone is heftier than you'd expect for its size, weighing in at almost 200 grams. One thing worth noting is that the volume keys and power button are clicky and require a solid squeeze to use, which helps against accidental activations at least. And just like last year, the Pixel 7a brings IP67 rated ingress protection. That's not quite as water resistant as the Pixel 7 with its IP68 rating, but it's close. Like the previous model, the 7a's display is a 6.1-inch OLED with a 1080p resolution, but with a fast 90Hz refresh rate this time around. It makes swiping and scrolling appear much smoother than on a 60Hz panel. It will dial down to 60Hz when you stop interacting with it too to save energy. Also, the Pixel 7a's display is super bright for the class. We measured a maximum of just under 500 nits with a manual slider, which can boost to 1070 nits in auto mode, great for outdoor use. Despite the rather thick bezels, this display looks good, with the great contrast you'd expect from an OLED. You get support for HDR10+ video, and the color accuracy can be very good depending on your color settings. For audio, there's a pair of stereo speakers, with the earpiece doubling as the top speaker. They have good loudness, and we like the sound even better than the Pixel 7's. If you want to hear how it sounds for yourself, we'll leave a link to where you can listen to the studio recording and compare it to most other phones we've reviewed. For biometrics, the Pixel 7a features an under-display fingerprint reader. It's well placed and quite responsive. One of the main reasons to get a Pixel is its clean Android software experience, which is exactly what Google intended. If you're familiar with the stock Android look, you'll feel right at home. Plus, you get the fastest Android updates on the market, and Google promises at least 3 years of major Android updates and 5 years of security patches. One recent feature added to Android is the support for theme colors for icons on the home screen. And swiping up from the home screen can open up the app drawer along with the keyboard for an instant Google search. On top of the stock Android features, there are also a bunch of AI-based ones, which are only found on the Pixel phones. These include things like Now Playing, which identifies songs playing nearby even when you're offline. There are also things like Call Screen, Direct My Call, Face on Blur, Top Shot, and more, and Google often adds new ones through its Pixel feature drops. These AI-based features are powered by Google's own Tensor G2 chipset. That's the same chipset you'd get in the more expensive Pixels. It's overall quite powerful, and the Pixel 7a earned very high benchmark scores for this price bracket. However, the performance isn't on the same level as this year's Android flagship silicon, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. In fact, the Pixel 7a is outscored in benchmarks by the top mid-range chipset as well, the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2. Still, the phone runs smoothly, and there's more than enough power to tackle heavy games and tasks, including those unique AI-driven ones. And while the thermal management here isn't anything to write home about, at least during our stress test, the 7a throttled gradually, without sudden dips. You only get one option for storage on the Pixel 7a, 128 gigs, and thus not expandable through microSD. That's one way in which it falls behind the regular Pixel 7, which has an option for 256 gigs. And another way the 7a is outclassed is battery life, even though its battery capacity is in the same ballpark as both the Pixel 6a and the 7. In our testing, the 7a's battery results weren't spectacular. Although screen on times were decent, mediocre standby and voice calling scores dragged down the overall endurance rating to just 76 hours. Charging speed isn't a strong suit of the Pixels. The 7a is rated for just 18-watt charging. As expected, the results in our charging test were pretty unexciting, with the phone going from 0 to just 36% in half an hour. But at least in a first for a Pixel A model, the 7a supports wireless charging. The Pixel 7a also brings some new camera hardware that we haven't seen before on a Pixel. On the back, there's a 64-megapixel main cam, which has the first quad-Bayer type sensor on an A-series phone. That's joined by a 13-megapixel ultrawide camera. Photos from the main cam come out at 16 megapixels thanks to pixel binning, and these taken during the day are excellent, as expected from a Pixel. The colors are both vibrant and true to life, and there's an overall contrasty look. The dynamic range is wide, but not over the top. The rendition of the detail is quite nice too, without excessive sharpening. Portrait mode shots from the main cam use a digital crop and zoom on top of the regular photos. The results are okay, with mostly good subject separation, but some parts of the subject's face end up soft, and the sharpness overall takes a hit from the upscaling. In low light conditions, the Pixel 7a can automatically apply its night sight processing to its photos, or you can toggle on the dedicated night sight mode for the same results. Detail is very good, and the colors are expressive. The white balance is consistent too. The dynamic range is good, but not over the top. You can still see clipped point light sources and some darker shadows. It seems to lend a more natural look though. The Pixel 7a can record video with its main cam in up to 4K resolution at 60 FPS. The detail level here isn't bad, but it's not that great either. Colors are vivid, and the overall look is quite contrasty. Stabilization is available in all modes on all cameras. It isn't perfect on the main cam though, at least when it comes to walking, with some leftover tremors. In low light, the Pixel 7a's main cam captures okay video. It's rather soft and dark, but at least the colors and dynamic range are okay. Now let's talk about the Ultrawide cam. It doesn't disappoint. Its images have excellent sharpness and detail for the class, with colors and contrast that remain consistent with the main cam's output. The Ultrawide's results in the dark are solid too. With the night sight processing kicking in, you get very good detail and excellent colors. Dynamic range is good, though again there's a contrasty rendition with darker shadows and blown light sources. The Ultrawide can record video in up to 4K at 30 FPS, and it does a surprisingly good job. Detail is quite good for the class, and the colors, contrast, and dynamic range are consistent with the main cams. And the Ultrawide's low-light video capture is soft and noisy, but not more so than on competitors. Finally, selfies are taken with the 13-megapixel front-facing cam. Colors and skin tones look great, and dynamic range is nice and wide. The overall sharpness leaves a bit more to be desired though. So let's sum things up. The Pixel 7a is a nice mid-ranger that delivers pretty much everything you'd expect from a Pixel phone. A solid waterproof build, a clean Android interface, a powerful chipset with AI capabilities, and excellent photo quality from the rear cameras. But also like other Pixel phones, you have slow charging, and the availability worldwide is limited. Another compromise you'd have to make compared to the regular Pixel 7 is the battery life, which for some reason is a lot less here. If you don't mind that, then the Pixel 7a could be worth considering. Thanks for watching guys. If you're looking for alternatives to the Pixel 7a, one option could be the Motorola Edge 40, or you could consider the Samsung Galaxy A54. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.